Good evening, YouTube. I just wanted to give an update on this on our InsoFast project. As you can see, we've been drywalling. It's been going pretty well. I would say that it's very similar to, say, putting drywall on studs. It's not exactly the same, of course. It's only similar because mainly at the bottom there is no plate at the bottom. There's no header at the top. There's no plates at the top. So when you're doing the perimeter and you're screwing in the perimeter, you can only do as many as you have these studs in. So you're looking at what, 3 across the top, or 4 of them across the top, 1 on each edge and 2 in the middle. That's what you're limited to. That's because that's all there is to it. There is no headers on these things, so, and no top plate, so there's nothing really to screw into at the top or the bottom other than the studs that are built into these. I found that the hardest part of doing the drywalling on this is just hitting the studs. They're they're the same size as a regular 2x4 stud, but you're hitting them, and the main issue with that that occurs is over here, like you can see where the panels have come together. I don't know if you can really see this or not. Where the panel has come together, there's a small gap. That small gap can add up. So if you're going down your panels and you find like there's another small gap in here in this one, and there may be a small gap in another one. Like on the next one, there's just a very, very faintest of gap in here. This is probably the best one you can see. That all adds up to having your spacing not really exactly 48 inches apart. So the big thing you got to check when you're putting these up is that your 48 inches from your panels is going to fall in the middle of one of these studs or one of these study type locations. That's what you're really trying to make sure of. You want to measure every one of them, and if not, you have to gap them or space them. I've had a few on one of the other walls that was spaced out because of that sort of thing, and so I had to gap it once or twice to make sure that it lined up. You also want to be cautious of, like right here, this panel above it doesn't exactly line up with the panel below it, which is fine if you're running cabling through it. But if you're on the edge of your studs when you're doing it, that small off right there can make you have to move a little bit or give a gap one way or another to make it fit. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. As long as your panels, as long as these boards were put up, level, you should be okay. I mean, as long as you're putting them up, as long as they're level and the edge of these is plumb, it should go up without issue. We're not really having any problem, just the normal drywall stuff, having to go around windows and pipes and that sort of thing. There tends to be quite a bit of those in a basement, so you got to be leery of that, having to work around stuff. But other than that, it's been going pretty well, I would say. You can also, if you really wanted to, for added insurance, you could put glue on the back of the drywall and glue it to these foam boards. I think the biggest concern I have is I know on their website they say you can hang things off of this, and these studs are supposed to be, magically strong. I don't know exactly how strong these things would be if I could hang a TV, a large TV off of one of these. Even though this plate is glued, there is a flat piece, and then there's a piece that goes through to the back, and then another flat piece, and you're gluing it to the wall. I just don't know how strong this plastic is, because the foam is not strong at all. I mean, you put a screw in this, it's not going to hold anything, and it's going to come right out. Even if you could get it to tighten up, it's not going to. And the plastic will tighten up, but it's pretty easy to strip because the plastic is fairly thin. I mean, it's not even eighth of an inch thick, I think, is the way it looked to me when I measured it, or when I looked at it, because you can see it sticking up above them. So you're not really anchoring into anything substantial, you're anchoring into this, which may be glued to that, and this is going to pull apart. If you hit the center of it, you may get lucky. If you hit right in the center and you hit the molded piece, the plastic on the other side that goes all the way through to the other side, and then it's glued. But you know, the chances of that and of it holding, I would not think is very high. So I wouldn't really hang anything heavy off of it. Normal stuff you can screw into it, you know, pictures, that sort of stuff, but maybe a light TV in the 20-something inch range, maybe. I don't know what the actual pull test is on these for anchors or anything. I didn't really see any testing of that, and I'm not really going to test it myself. I think it would be something the manufacturer would provide for you to let you you know, as a just information saying, hey, you're only really going to hang this. They say you can hang heavy stuff off of it, but I don't buy it without seeing it actually being done. Gluing the drywall on may help. I know in a few locations, like in the corners and stuff, like as you can see in this corner, here's the stud line right here, and there's nothing in the corner here. So a bead of glue down the back side of this makes all the difference to make this tight. I will tell you one advantage that I did find on doing this is you don't really need to tape this stuff because you're not attaching it to anything that is going to move. You know, the foam is inert. It's not susceptible to environmental conditions, so it's not going to go anywhere. You know, it's not going to expand and contract. It's attached to concrete, which is not going to expand and contract as well. So, you know, that's the whole thing with taping when you're putting up against wall studs, is it may move. You know, a standard stud wall, it's going to expand and contract with the environment. You know, if it's humid, it's going to expand. If the wind's blowing, your house may expand a little bit, you know, as the pressure changes in your house. But this is foam on top of concrete, and neither one of them are going to move. There's no doors in here, so there's no shaking. Like if you were putting on like a metal stud wall, you definitely tape that just because the wall itself can move, just from environmental stuff. So that was an advantage to that, and you know, because I've done one coat on this and there's no cracking on any of this, except for in locations I would expect. Like here was a large gap that I had to fill in, and there's a few other places that had a large gap that filled in. Totally expect that to crack on the first coat because the compound shrinks a little. But other than that, you know, it's just mind your gaps and be aware that swinging this stuff up in there is not any headroom in here. So everything is leaned back and slide her in. As always, if you have any questions, let me know and I'll try to answer them. If you want to see more, let me know and I'll try to post it.